where is that middle ground? Like, at what point is it your parent just voicing their opinion versus your parents making a request?
Yeah.
And when should that request be honored? Because if I've won this very skate you have a problem with at least 100 times in the last 3 years, then it's not particularly the skirt. It's more so that you can see the skirt. At what point is that control relinquished? Because I am 25. I'm about to be in the latter half of my 20s. You know? While I obviously respect your opinion, at what point is it like, how do I respond? How do you tell me how to love you, ma'am?
Hello, mommy.
Hola.
Hola, mama.
Hola, sweetie.
How are ya?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm recovering. Today was okay. It was really good in some ways with the conversation I had with, that colleague of mine. And it was quite annoying in other ways. Thanks, Mother Nature. But overall, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited because your excitement is giving me excitement.
I'm so excited.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
And my day...
How are you? Yeah.
Yeah, my day has been intentionally calm. Right? So
I love that.
Started off kind of wanting to be funny with some horrible headache in the morning, but I grabbed and reined it in. I'm like, nope, this is my day. It's the day the Lord has made.
Period.
And I'm gonna rejoice. So yeah.
Please do.
And I had a great day. Had a meet up with a former colleague, Etsuya, gisted.
You ate suya, you didn't bring me suya.
I went to visit her in her office. She entertained me with suya. Like, if I brought it home, you'd be like, Mommy, what's that?
What do you mean?
As in, like, where would somebody give you suya in her office and you bring it
But I would have eaten the suya. Who am I to complain when suya shows up?
It was too nice. So. Sorry, I finished it.
So you're even boasting of the suya?
I am.
Oh, wow.
I am.
See the way they make mothers nowadays.
Yep. That's why we're having the podcast.
What? Anyways, I was thinking today we could talk a little bit about me being at home. I know we left off last time on like the timelines and how we've gotten close over the years, but I think the most pressing part of that timeline is obviously the fact that I'm at home.
After being away
for
8 years. So 2 years A-levels, 4 years college, 2 years working.
Yeah.
So that's 8 years.
So 8 years, yeah.
More or less been living independently on your own. Wow.
And living in my own space for the last couple years.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a lot of adjustments, obviously. It was on my mind a lot. Before I came back in November, I was really excited to finally be back. Obviously, there were so many projects that I wanted to do. I was about to start a job that I was really excited about. And so there was a lot to look forward to. And of course, I was coming back very close to the festive season. So who doesn't want to, be back early for Dirty December? The festivities are gearing up.
Socialite like yourself.
Socialite like myself. I try my best, So I was obviously excited for all of those reasons. And I was also coming off of a really fun month in Toronto.
Yeah.
I had gone to so many concerts. I went to Vancouver.
Yeah.
I saw Shawn Mendes. You don't even know who Shawn Mendes is.
I don't know, but your eyes closing just kind of captures it all. Like,
yes.
With your pinky, is that pointing finger and you just close your eyes like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shawn Mendes is a sight to behold. But so I was coming off of a really exciting time. I was excited to be at home. I was happy. And then I think getting home, the reality set in very quickly that just home is not the way you left it. I think there's a difference between coming home once a year for like 2, 3 weeks in December
Yeah.
time. Everybody's festive season. We're always, out of the house doing something or together as a family doing something. And, it's always a nice time. But it's very different. It's significantly different to living at home again and working at home where there's not really a time, like a clock. So now, I mean, there's still a clock, but a way elongated. 9 months is very different to 2, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think that reality set in very quickly for me that one, I wasn't going to have exactly what I had had in my mind. It wasn't going to look like December time, those 3 weeks times 9 months. It wasn't going to look exactly like that. But I think one thing that I thought would be cool to talk about was how much pressure I put on myself for it to look that way. I think in my head coming back, I really thought that the time at home not only would look like that, but it should look like that. And if I was back, if I had fit back in to our day-to-day family life correctly, that's what it should look like. So I had all this pressure on myself, which I was talking to my therapist Kim at the time. Shout out Kim. I was putting so much pressure on myself when I was, kind of irritable or moody, which I was going through a lot of those things in hindsight. Living with 4 to 6 people when I've only ever lived with one person, it's tough. It's Your attention is required in multiple places. Usually, when you're living with one person, if that person needs alone time, you probably need alone time as well. Like, you just kind of eventually sync.
Yeah.
And when I'm at home and everybody is on a different schedule, you, me, Erife, Daddy, everybody has a different schedule. Ella has a different schedule. When Oye and Ire were at home, everybody's just kind of doing their own thing.
Miss Jennifer has a different
Miss
schedule.
Jennifer has a different schedule. So everybody's kind of doing their own thing. But what that means is, unlike when I call from away from home, I am not always in the mood to interact, or in that mood to be bubbly, to be interactive when I'm approached. And the reason I put so much pressure on myself is because usually when I'm away from home and I call, let's say I call while I'm in Chicago or call while I'm in Toronto, I'm calling because I'm ready to call. I'm calling
Absolutely.
because I'm in that mood.
Yeah.
So we have our Sunday calls with me in that mood. And so I think for the last few years, you would hear about my ups and downs in
But I
hindsight.
wouldn't necessarily experience
But
it.
you weren't experiencing them with me. And so when I was at home and, I would be in those cycles or moods or whatever, and then I'm in that mode and I'm being caught in that, not caught, but you know what I mean? I'm being interacted with in that mode. I felt so much guilt that I wasn't using my time at home properly. Like, I felt so much pressure. Why am I being irritable? Why am I like closing up? It's the first time I've been at home for this long in a really long time. I shouldn't be behaving this way. I should be more excited. I should be more grateful. I should be happy. And I think I really struggled with that in the first month or so. Maybe even a little bit more than a month. I really struggled with that. And I think one of the things that I noticed in that time was everybody kind of was just, I mean, I guess you are also used to everybody just kind of flowing in and out and all of that. But oh my gosh, I would leave a situation and I'm just like, what is going on with me? Like, why am I just so not there? Why am I not on in this moment? I didn't really, you know, I didn't really feel that, like, disappointment, I would say, from you. And I was just curious, like, why, man?
I
Like,
should
what were
have.
you thinking at those
I should,
points? How has it
I should have
been with me coming
added to the
home?
pressure.
No, that would have not helped.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. First of all, I think you are so self-critical of yourself, that I have to remind you quite regularly to extend a lot of grace
Yeah,
to yourself,
I do
right?
have this issue.
Yeah, it's not an issue. You're just growing. You're a growing adult, young adult.
Yeah.
You learn over time to extend more grace to yourself. I've been there before, so I can tell. So you'll get there. But I necessarily couldn't. I'll tell. I mean, just thinking back at the last few months, I don't think I could tell that you had yourself under so much pressure, but I knew that there was adjustment. I
Yeah.
knew I could recognize the occasional irritabilities, and I just want to be in my room.
Yeah.
I don't really want to be around everybody else. Those I notice, and again, believe it or not, for me, I'm just this. I think the mindset that we kind of touched on in the last episode, where I had mentioned that each person is an individual, right? In spite of the fact that you're my daughter and, you have many similarities with myself, with your dad, you are a whole different human being on your own. And it's really important for me never to lose sight of that and to always keep seeking, how do I understand and know this person better in each situation, in each phase, in each experience of life. So for me, again, like you said, you hadn't been home for this amount of time in a long time. The December seasons, if I say people are home, maybe home, if I add up the total number of hours, maybe like 20% of the time hours you are home in those
We're
3
up
weeks.
and down the place.
You and Fikemi are up and down, and enjoying yourselves and all that, which is fine. So, but this is different. So I approached it from a point of view of, don't try to then bring all the typical expectations on you. I was quite careful not to do that. I wanted you, as much as I wanted you to integrate and, make your own presence felt and make your contributions in the home. I also didn't want, I knew it would take a bit of time. So whenever I noticed those irritabilities, it was just, are you okay? Are you fine? Is there anything I can help with? Or you want to be alone? It's okay to let you be alone. And then when I think, okay, hey, come out, let's all spend time together. That's fine. So it was. There was never a time when I felt, she's home, so yeah, let me. You must come into the kitchen with me, and we must cook, you must sweep, you must clean, you must do it, which is sometimes maybe the way I was brought up in my time. When I went home, because I moved out of home for my service year. So whenever I went back home occasionally, that's it. You enter the routine. You go, you help. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But again, I'm just like, you will grow into it or integrate into it over time. And then because we have a help in the house, again, why is that needed? Because you were working. Even though you're in the house, you were working. So if you were not in the house working, you would go out to work and come back every day.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any need on my part, or it didn't even occur to me like, oh, okay, you need to make her know she's home now and things need to be different. Maybe it's my personality, my mindset. I was just like, okay, so she's home. Can I get to know my daughter again? What does she like? What, how is she feeling? What's she thinking? Because I just think people, you've been in different environments, so all that would have had an impact on you. And I'm quite eager to understand it. Where it wasn't entirely a positive impact, I want to kind of help to correct it and nudge it, into the positive side. And where it's great, then I want to share it. So yeah.
First of all, that's helpful for me to hear because, I definitely would be in my head a bit. Not even a bit. I would be in my head a lot. Like, there were times where I would just call Issa, like, very frustrated at myself. Like, why am I not adjusting as quickly as I expected myself to adjust? And, thank God for good friends. I mean, she would basically say the same thing of, you need to be more, take it easy with yourself, and I think in hindsight, it's always easier for me to do that.
But in the moment,
it's really difficult. I think I'm ever so slowly learning that. But yeah, coming home was tough in that way, seeing not just the highlights of even home, even hearing about stuff at home that's heartbreaking or that's just like difficult to swallow, and hearing about it for the last few years versus seeing it every day. I think that also takes a toll on you, because it's ever so apparent that the home you left is not the home you're coming back to.
Yeah.
I think there's this article that I learned about at ALE, and I don't remember the name of the writer, but it's called Dear African Abroad, Home is Not Waiting for You.
And it isn't.
Yeah, and it isn't.
As
and
you are moving along abroad, home is moving along
as
well.
Yeah. So I think that was a really important thing for me to realize. I read the article once when I was like, I don't know, 18, but I haven't read it since then. So maybe that would be really cool to revisit. It's helpful now to know that that was not an expectation of like, when are you going to get over this thing? Because that was a pressure that I put on myself, which is ironic because I don't think I would put that pressure on somebody else to like, oh yeah. When are you going to be?
Yeah, I also think, we're whole human being, right? We're all whole human beings. What I mean by that is we're emotions, we're wills, we're desires, we're minds, we're so many things all in one, right? And one aspect of ourselves doesn't quite adjust to a new situation as we calculate and expect it to. Random example that comes to my mind is when people suffer grief, right? When people suffer grief, right? How you assimilate it, process it, handle it is not quite how your brain actually, so sometimes some people will have certain experiences going through grief that they would be like, oh my God, what is going on with me? Because they can't process it in their brain. It's not adding up. Yeah. But their entire system is handling it the way it knows best. Yeah. Right. So I think it's great we're speaking about this, because if I relate it to how young adults either want to come home or don't want to come home, it's sometimes things like this. Because then you're coming back home with a lot of thoughts around, what am I going to get? How is it going to be? Yeah. I've been so individual for so long. Am I still going to be able to keep some element of that individuality? Yeah. Or am I going to be under pressure to be somebody else? Yeah. So I think, again, like I said earlier, extend a lot of grace to yourself. I actually, until you've brought it up now, I don't think I thought there was any expectation I personally or your dad had of you that you're not meeting up to. Right? Like, oh, okay, now she's home. Oh, we expect you to do this. No, you're home. Okay, we need to run an errand. Are you available? Yes, you're available. Thank you for doing it. You're not available. Okay, we'll schedule it around your time. Or, if you're not available at all, okay, then we'll go do it. Because if you were not home, we would do it, right? Again, maybe it's our personality, our mindset, that helps us, take those sort of things with a lot more ease. Yeah. Rather than, being very traditional and, and absolutely nothing with being traditional. It's just my nature to be like this. So honestly, I wouldn't say there was you coming home. There was no expectation as in, okay, Fika is coming home now. This is what it means. There's some good practices, which I, maybe we'll get into a bit later, that which I would normally encourage you to say, okay, you're back home. It's appropriate that you do this, appropriate that you do that. But apart from those, nothing else.
Did you and daddy, like, I know you say it's the mindset, and it could be a mindset, it's that, we don't have particularly the most traditional setup, let me say. Would you say that that was something that you and daddy were intentional about?
Good question. I don't think we were intentional about it. I just think as you live life, you kind of either continue to fuss about the things that give you headache, or you just try to take a more chilled approach to life, right? What I mean by that is, maybe you're trying to get something and you really want it and you've put in all the effort and it's not coming through. You have two options: either continue to moan about it and be upset and it just ruins your day, or you just kind of say, well, you know what, it's all in God's hands, it will happen, and then you just release it away. So if over the years we've tended to pick an approach, or a style of just saying, we trust that God loves us, we trust that everything that is ours, it will come to us in its time. We work hard, we're not lax, we're not slothful or anything. We do work hard and do everything that is required of us. But if you've done all things and it still seems a bit tough, then we don't fall over about it and make it ruin. So over the years, if you've had that style and approach to things, then it's quite easy to then adopt that sort of approach to, many other things in your life, expectations of your children and all that. So for example, I don't ever remember your dad or myself, like hitting over any of you guys, the kids, about your grades. Like, maybe some parents will be like, no, you must get this grade. And the other person that got it, they have two heads. Do we emphasize good grades? Absolutely. But do we emphasize making sure you do your very best? And if your best didn't get you the best grades, then we're seeking to understand, so what's the issue? Why do you think you didn't make the best grade? Do you think you don't understand it? Were you distracted? Were you able to prepare enough? So we're seeking to understand what, all the things accumulated into you not getting the best grade, so we can support you and help you to get that, right? So if you so it's not, again, the wholesomeness, the mental well-being, and I use mental well-being because they use it now more often. Back then, that wasn't the terminology, but just generally the safety, emotional, mental safety of a child is so critical for me. If I was scolding a child and I obviously saw that child was distressed, right? While what I'm scolding you about is wrong, and I don't want you to get the impression that you shouldn't be scolded, I would probably pull back a bit because I'm sensitive to how that child is feeling, right? So I've now gone in many different directions. But back to, so we may not have been intentional. We actually were not intentional about it. It was just a style and approach to living. Maybe to be honest, maybe it started more with me because I'm like, please, life is very easy. Maybe from my own background, I trust God, I believe God, I work hard, I'm kind to people. You do, do those. And the Bible says, whatever you sow, you would reap. I believe it strongly. So I don't steal. Nobody's going to steal from me. I don't do this. Nobody's going to do that. And when you believe it, it's mindset. It will be your reality. It will be your experience.
Did you have any things that... So you mentioned previously that there were some things that you were like, okay, this could be appropriate. How do you feel like you've navigated that?
Yes. So again, so what I feel like is, the journey of bringing up a child doesn't end when that child leaves home. Why? Because in many other aspects of that young adult, maybe not child anymore, but that young adult's life, there's still things that he or she can rely on their parents for, guidance for, because they've not walked that path before, and it can be helpful, whether it's in your career, friendships, your relationships, whatever. So for me, one of those expectations is, you know what, you're home. Okay, maybe not you because you've taken a break off work, but your sister earns an income. You also have a bit of a stipend for yourself. So you know what? Is there something you can be helpful with covering in the house? It's a kind and humane thing to do. Not because we need it. We will cover our bills anyway. But it's just proper. And I would have, and if you remember, times when you've gone on holiday breaks, when you were in college, and you visited some of our friends, I would always say, hey, make sure you help out.
Yeah.
Don't just be in the house, just enjoying every benefit and not help the auntie in the kitchen, or you go out, you have to see some fruits, you want to get fruits from the house and say, oh auntie, I brought some fruits home. It's just it's proper upbringing, but it's also just being kind, consideration, and just being kind. So for me, those were more like the things I was speaking of earlier. If there were any expectations to say, okay, you're home, you're going out. Oh, the Miss Jennifer told you there's no more plantain in the house. Oh, okay, don't worry, I'll bring some plantain when I'm coming home. It's just nice to say, oh, there's plantain. I forgot I bought. Oh no, Miss Fikemi already bought. Oh, that's nice. Or which you do sometimes to say, oh, mommy, I don't know what we really need, but hey, here's a bit of money, cover whatever we need to cover in this and that. Again, it's not necessarily it wasn't a spoken expectation like you must do this, but again, in the course of upbringing and just knowing that there's certain things that are, appropriate or suitable to do, you learnt it and you've done it. So yeah, I think it was more of those things, helping with errands and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does.
I guess it's a little bit of a callback to an earlier part that you were talking about, and we can maybe get into the whole IJGB situation. For the non-Nigerians listening, that means I just got back. So when Nigerians live abroad or just outside of Nigeria and they come back home, oftentimes in the festive season, so in the December time, or Dirty December as it's infamously called, then those people are referred to as IGGBs. I just go backs. And I think that in the tension of coming home, there's that bit to explore where it goes beyond just a young adult visiting home for the first time in a while. It really is that merge of cultures. It really is that, like, I've been exposed and I've lived in a way that you have never lived. And a lot of times, at least for me, because I'm the first, in a way that no one else in our nuclear family has lived. Erife probably had a little less friction because I was in the US before she was in the US. So there wasn't as much of, when she needed help with certain things,
or
when she wanted to talk to you about certain things, it might have been something you were a bit more knowledgeable on because you and I had already spoken about it. But there are those dynamics in general when a young adult comes back home. But the dynamic is even more, for lack of a better phrase, more tense when there is a difference in cultures. And I know that a lot of my friends coming back either just don't want to come back because that kind of relationship with their parents is not there. They don't want to deal with that. And it's a lot to deal with.
It is.
It's definitely a lot to deal with. And I empathize with the experience of living a certain life away from home and getting used to certain things that, especially when it's things that your parents either are not exposed to, or them and they're probably just not going to be happy with those things, or you go out frequently and they're just not going to be fans of that, or whatever the case may be. And then you come home and you're really expected to perform for a few weeks. You're really expected to be a different person. I mean,
keep up appearance.
Keep up appearance for a certain period of time because you just don't want the headache. Like, I empathize with that and I completely understand. And granted, if I had the same experience at home, if my experiences at home were also ones
You
where
won't stay.
I was like, oh my gosh, now I have to go home, or now I have to have this conversation, or no, now I have to figure out whose house I'm going to before I eventually go out, before I eventually go to the parties I want to go to. Like, I can imagine that that's just frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you would say to the parents of those people.
Okay, that's a very, very, very good question.
You can take your time to think about
Yeah,
it.
I am. Because, I think who we each are is a culmination of many things. Our backgrounds, our education, our experiences, exposure, so many things. Influences, the one we knew were influencing us, the ones we didn't know, that, has formed us as individuals before we became parents. And, I think I mentioned it a bit in the last episode where I said some of us as parents need to grow from from certain experiences. Some of us have had traumas that we don't realize that those traumas are playing out in the way we relate with other people, less our children, or even our spouses. And being self-aware enough to be able to identify when there's certain patterns or behaviors or attributes that you have that are not necessarily beneficial to yourself or to your child, and doing the work to try to kind of like heal and grow from that. That's on you as an individual and a parent. And if you don't do that, if maybe you're not self-aware, and again, I'm not even sitting in any place of like judgment or anything. It's just thinking through some of the work I have had to do on myself to be the sort of person that is best that I think I should be, and then extend that to all my relationships. So if any individual doesn't do that work, then those gaps, if I can call them gaps in quotes, will show up in your relationships. And since we're speaking of a parent-child relationship here, it will show up. Again, if I grew up from a background where my parents were very critical of me, I would hide things. I wouldn't be so open. I remember clearly my dad, when I went into university, because we lived on campus in UI, and so he worked on campus. So he was driving home one day, and I lived in the boys' quarters for so many years, myself and my cousin, my female cousin Bola. So and that my dad was driving back from work that day, and a male friend of mine had parked just a bit far off from the house. So we just stood near his car and we were speaking. And so my dad, drove past, and I just waved at him, and and he went. Later when I got home, he asked, "Oh, who was that?" I said, "Oh, it was just a friend that was visiting." So he said, "Why is the person parked far from the house?" I'm like, "Nothing. We were just gisting." So he just proceeded to tell me, "You're a young lady, you have standards. Whoever wants to see you should be bold enough to come to your home." And, I didn't say it like that. But, for me, that was different. But that's the father I knew. My father that was just the sort of person he was. And so after then, any of my friends, male or female, they would come to the house. He wants to see them. But some other parents, individuals didn't grow up like that. Their parents were critical, no, you must not know any, speak to boys, you get pregnant, or all those, those sort of experiences. And those things influence us in ways. So when the person grows up and are a bit critical of their child because they want the best for the child, right? And they want the child to just remain on this straight path so that he or she ends up in the right places, it impacts on that relationship, because the child probably doesn't understand. Why are you so fussy? Okay, mommy, I'll do this. Daddy, I'll do this. But can you just relax a little,
Yeah.
trust me a little, extend. Can you even watch what I do with some space you give me? Do I abuse it, or do I actually hold it in,
Yeah.
in great esteem and do the right thing? So I would just say, and I remember, so I'm moving around a bit. I remember for COVID, when it was tough to get you home from the US.
Yeah.
And thank God helped us. We did all we could to make sure you came home. And you got home, and I was asking, what about your friends? And you said, Mommy, most of them don't want to come home. They don't want to be stuck in the same house with their parents for months. And I was truly heartbroken, because our experience is you guys always want to come home. You're like, no, we want to come home. If I just sum it all up by saying, while I may not know exactly what the dynamics in each of those relationships may be that may cause some young adults not to want to come home, I would just say maybe, again, they're grown. Open, honest, vulnerable conversations would always help, right? Where, you say, you know what, why don't you want to come home? What happens when you're home that doesn't make you feel comfortable? And just find middle grounds, right? Where there's a bit of give and take, which we have had. I think maybe we'll get into it, the dressing and when people are going to parties and all that. So there's been middle grounds where some of them that's
like, us getting into it. That is
that is it. Yeah, because
we don't always agree.
We don't always agree
on the length of the skirts.
The length of the skirts, the dip of the tops, or
and oftentimes it just becomes like, well, Mommy, sorry,
Mommy, sorry, yeah.
I'm like, Mom.
But I also give you guys some credit that you do make changes. Like, I remember sometimes maybe I will comment about Erife. Erife said, okay, Mommy, you know what, I can do this if it makes you feel more comfortable. I'm like, yes, please. But what I'm just saying is there have been some uncomfortable aspects of parenting grown young adults at home that hasn't been entirely easy for myself. And I probably your dad as well. But again, you are family. This is your home. If you can't be this in your home, where else are you going to be that?
So first of all, I think starting that conversation, especially on the parent side of why don't you want to come home? I think, and muting yourself so you are not interrupting
the
person, listening to what that
the
person
response
is saying.
And listen to understand, not to respond.
Just to say, okay, get the answer on one call and think about it, then call to respond later on.
Absolutely.
But I think there is another one of those tensions as well, getting into a couple of the examples where it's like, okay, there are some things that we don't agree with, and like when we talk about the dressing or whatever, and in my head I'm like, well, I've been dressing myself for the last few years and you haven't been seeing the outfits I'm wearing. Maybe once in a while, if we're on the phone while I'm getting my makeup on or whatever, then I'll be like, oh my gosh, my outfit, da 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 da. And again, because we're on the phone, it's just kind of like, what are you gonna do? Like, oh, you look cute, all right, bye, talk to you later. There's not really much that can be done. And so sometimes I think like, where is that middle ground? Like, at what point is it your parent just voicing their opinion versus your parent making a request? And when should that request be honored? Because if I've worn this very skirt you have a problem with at least 100 times in the last 3 years, then it's not particularly the skirt. It's more so that you can see the skirt. And so is it best if I wear jeans to the car and put the skirt in the car and then change into the skirt in the car? Or is it best that I just leave the house in the skirt and you see the skirt that I left in?
And then you deal with yourself.
And you deal with it, which obviously it goes back to like, we had different backgrounds and upbringing, of course, but I think the tension that I want to get at is, at what point is that control relinquished? Because I am 25. I'm about to be in the latter half of my 20s. While I obviously respect your opinion, at what point is it like, how do I respond? How do you tell me how to love you, ma'am?
Oh my
You
God.
know, how do you
You're
respond?
asking some really tough questions
It's okay.
today.
On another episode, I can be on the hot seat.
Yeah, I think so. I will be the one
She said, "I
asking the
think
question.
so."
At what point do you relinquish? Well, so again, the thing is this: that young 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 10-year-old child
You still see that
has
child?
grown.
Okay, I was gonna be
Period.
like, lady.
That child has grown and has come into him or herself, not entirely, because till we all live, if our parents could still be there, they would still be beneficial to us in many ways. So we could never outgrow our parents. So even though I say that to say it's important that parents not only just see that physical growth and relate to it, but actually also process what it means for that growth internally. Right? What does it mean that this person is growing? Right? And I think for me, because again, this whole podcast is about sharing our own dynamics and how we deal with things, so that people can pick whatever they need from it that is beneficial to them. So just understanding that that child has grown and is growing and has formed their own personality, and seeking again to not just because so as that child has grown, your role and the different roles you play in the child's life changes. It evolves over that growth period.
Absolutely.
Right? When that child was young, they took all their instructions from you. They did exactly as you said. As they were growing older, they had a mind of their own. Mommy, I don't want to eat rice. I want to eat beans. They start expressing those preferences. The older they grow, it gets more and more. And you find that at least I found that as you guys grew older, my role, while it was very, I think you should do this, it was no longer, you must do this because I said so. And I think, I can't, maybe if I think hard enough, I'll probably figure out when that transition happened. But, so just knowing that transition happens at some point.
Yeah.
And if you want to be able to maintain that great relationship with
That's
that
fair.
child, then you
You have to pull back a bit.
you need to know when to pull back.
Yeah, I think it does
and
become
change
that.
approach again. And with you, and I absolutely appreciate it when you say you respect my opinion. But there were times we've had conversations where I would tell you, this is really what I think you should do. But if you didn't do it, I wouldn't say, how dare you? Maybe, again, because of my faith, I would also carry it back in prayers and just say, God, this child is your child. I've told her my own. Better go and tell her, because, at the end of the day, you have responsibility. But I think, back to your question, as in when do they really relinquish that control? I think it's not that you totally relinquish it. I think you just adjust how it shows up in conversations, in advices, in many things.
Would you say it's almost like a taking up a different sort of role in a way?
Just recognizing that, the role is evolving.
Yeah.
Just recognizing that the role is evolving.
So it takes a lot of humility. It takes a lot of self-awareness.
We said that in the last episode.
100%.
We've mentioned it again today. It takes a lot of self-awareness, a lot of humility. Yeah, ego doesn't work.
Yeah.
In any relationship, actually.
True.
Yeah, ego doesn't work. I'm your parent. I've been alive more than you and all that. And again, like I say, not judging or anything. A number of parents that have those personality types, it's background. This is what I know. This is how this is my culture. So it can be tough.
Yeah. To kind of bring it back to the topic of combo, being coming home, being sort of interacting with your parents for the first time in a while as a grown adult. And it doesn't have to be the first time in a while. I was speaking with one of my colleagues as well, and she's in her 30s, in her mid-30s, and she was talking about she sometimes will argue with her mom. This is a married woman in her 30s. And it's like, Mommy, I have a house separate from you. And I think it's definitely fair that where all that starts is taking a step back, understanding where your child is at, like whether it for you seemed like you could kind of tell what I was in the mood for and not in the mood for, because we just have that dynamic and we just had that relationship, versus asking explicitly, like, where are you? What is going on? And
which there's nothing wrong with.
Oh, there's absolutely nothing
it's
wrong
even
with
better
that.
to
I think,
ask if you can't read.
Absolutely.
Read right.
I mean, most of that's how our calls start as well.
Absolutely.
You can't know how I'm feeling except I let you know.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I think starting this sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. And yeah, I think it's probably also a bit of a relief, so to say. I can imagine, at least, like, hearing as a young adult that doesn't have to fall on your shoulders, because I think there's some form of indignation where it's like, nah, I'm not doing this. I've tried to talk to them, they're not listening to me, where they're just kind of like,
Setting
F
their
this,
ways.
I'm done with this. But there's always that bit of you that's just kind of like
desiring of it.
Could you ever desiring? I don't know if you feel the desire underneath that anger, but more so like an exasperation. Like, couldn't you just see where I'm coming from? And I think that there's a little bit of a relief, I can imagine, that comes with, thank you. Like, I can't be the only one trying to explain what I'm saying over and over and over again. And granted, like, when you're angry and when people are having arguments, that's not the best way that they, so I think it's definitely on us to see when work is being done.
True.
And to see when somebody is trying. But to see when somebody is trying can only come after there's trying in the first place.
So if I just add something again, sometimes you know it's this is mother-daughter, right? But sometimes it can be father-daughter.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the parents,
or sons are not excluded.
So one of the parents, whether the mom or the dad, usually will be the one who is a bit more understanding or accommodating or open to, just knowing me better as a young adult, right? And so what I would just say is, if there's any young adult that is in that place that they're exasperated about, oh gosh, can't you just kind of see where I'm coming from? Look for which of your parents is more open to it, and then have that conversation and say, I just want to speak. Can we, again, sometimes we just don't know. We weren't taught how to parent. I was telling you at the beach last week when we were at the beach, one of your friends that came, there was an argument he and his dad were having, and the mom was upstairs. And it was the mom telling me this. And when she heard the noise and the shoutings and all that, she was, oh God, what are these people arguing about again? So she was on her way downstairs, and then she just heard her son tell his dad, Daddy, is it too much for me to ask to speak with you quietly as your son without you shouting?
Yeah.
The mom said, if a pin dropped, you would have heard it. She just turned right back up from the stairs and went back like, my work is done.
Yeah.
And so today, that young man has a better relationship with his dad, because he got to a point where he's like, Dad, you know what? I'm tired of this shouting. You have to learn to understand me.
Yeah.
I'm your son. I love you. I know you love me. But you know what? This screaming and shouting and arguments,
it can't
keep happening.
Yeah.
And that was it. And the man, he was like, they took the wind out of his sail. He just actually kind of thought, hey, okay, maybe I'm being foolish right now.
Maybe we should bring them on the podcast, because obviously I know who you're talking about.
I know,
but maybe we should bring them on the podcast.
Well, I don't know whether the dad is going to come.
I mean, it would be lovely to hear, because I mean, this is a mother-daughter podcast, but I mean, this is at the root of it a parent-child podcast. Absolutely. Mother-daughter just has a better ring to it than parent-child.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But I think it's important. It's important, and I mean, I ask you all those questions. You are in the hot seat because I'm speaking on behalf of friends that I know have those issues. And it's like, where do you begin? How do you deal with that frustration? How do you deal with the fact that you've been probably fighting this battle for a long time, or you've almost given up before you started because maybe your older sibling started that battle, and you just at this point know how your parents are, or you're living out of the country for most of the years, just like, I beg, let me not even try.
Let's keep peace.
Let me just keep the peace. I can pretend for 2 to 3 weeks out of the year, which honestly, I get it. Like, it's valid, but I think it's important on the flip side, i.e. the parent side, to know that that is the cost. The cost of lack of humility is that you only get to know a version of your child. That is the cost.
And you don't benefit from that whole individual that child is growing up to become.
Dang. Well,
wow.
Hope the parents listening are doing okay. and yeah, I think this was a good convo.
I think
it was really all about coming home and that initial interaction.
With that dynamic,
But yeah, I'm glad I got those questions out for you. These were not even written down questions. This was me just being like,
the seat is really hot.
Your seat. Oh yeah. My hot seat is coming. Your hot seat is coming. Hopefully everybody listening got something out of it.
Absolutely.
I definitely did. From therapy to like ideas on what to tell my friends. Like, okay, maybe listen to episode 2 of Sunday Calls and you get something for your parents as well. Everybody can follow us on Instagram at Sunday Calls Pod. If you have questions, if you want to be a guest on the podcast, DM us, email us at sundaycallspodcast@gmail.com. We would love to have you.
Or if there's some aspect of your own experiences and relationships that you wondered if we've had to deal with, or
questions,
please just,
any suggestions
that you
comments.
Want us to talk about,
that would be cool.
That would be cool.
It's been Fikemi.
It's been Funmi and Fikemi.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to be Gen Z.
Stop trying to be Gen Z. You're not Gen Z.
I'm so excited. And we're out.